forgive us. We might get a little toasty after this after this review is done. It gets a little hot in the parking garage, but it's storming outside, so usually we have these cracked, but because of the sound of the radio, like, well, let's put it back up, but it does get very, very hot in here.
It does. We're going to be hotboxing here.
Yeah, and this movie was intense.
No.
I wonder if this is the first time this has happened, where it's happened before, where I've done a midnight screenings review of something, and then later done a snob episode. I wonder if this is the first time where it's the opposite that's the opposite that's happening, where a year ago I did a snob episode on Assassin 33 AD, and now here we have the same movie. Kind of. 99% the same movie. Here's the deal of what Black Easter is. So I went to the on-demand site to pick out a few recent things to watch. I see this movie there called Black Easter. A couple things are on my head. One, you're a couple weeks too late. Also, is this a slasher movie? It's like is this like the Easter companion piece to Black Christmas or something like that? I click on it, and the plot of the movie is terrorists fund a time machine in which they use it to go back in time to try to assassinate Jesus and prevent Christianity from happening. I'm sitting there like, sounds familiar. Like, is this a straight up ripoff? Did they already remake Assassin 33 AD later? Did they just give it another title? I go to IMDb, type in Black Easter, and Black Easter's on there as a separate entry from Assassin 33 AD. So I'm feeling as confused as the characters in the movie making matter transferring devices. Like, I need like a whole team of scientists to try to put it together of what this Black Easter movie is. Or I could just solve everything by just popping up like the trailer the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh no, you know what you really need was the voiceover guy telling you exactly what needed to be done. Because he's a genius.
I'll get to that in a second. And that is going to take up about 80% of this review. So Black Easter is a re-edit. It's the same movie. It's just re-edited. It's slightly different. And by slightly, boy, does that make a big difference. I won't tell you if it's for the better or for worse. I will say maybe a little bit of both. I'll elaborate more on that here in a second. But I'm also wondering, because Assassin 33 AD made my worst of list last year.
Really?
Like, this might be another first where the same movie is making worst lists in consecutive years. I was wondering, one curious thing I had about going back and watching this movie again, because it's been a year since I've seen the Assassin 33 AD edit, which is a way better title, by the way, than Black Easter. So I was thinking, is this like radically shorter? No, it's not. It's actually 4 minutes longer, which even the other one was already pushing 2 hours and did not need to be that long. This one manages to be 4 minutes longer than the other one. But I didn't know if the re-edits are subtle. I didn't know if I'd notice going into it, because I've seen about 200 movies since then. Right. I remember enough about the other one. But if there was like a new scene in there that would maybe be, I don't know if subtle's the right word, but not that much tonally different than anything else, I don't know if I'd recognize it as not being there before. Luckily, it is not subtle in its changes. Not in any way, shape, or form. Now, you hadn't seen Assassin 33 AD before. Does this make you want to watch that version of it?
I mean, I was thinking to myself, wow, is the other movie even slightly better? But you just said that it's about the same. It's about equally as bad.
No, this one is worse.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, okay. It is. But once we get around to giving grades of the movie, I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. But I wonder if the extra 4 minutes of this movie is the opening sequence that shows all of the film festivals that this was a part of.
Yeah, probably.
Somebody didn't learn a lesson of hubris from Christ. that goes on for a while and then goes right into the opening credits. The opening credits start playing out like the opening credits from the other one. But here is instantly where I was like, oh, this is not going to be subtle. I'm noticing right away that this is different, because it does a cliche that I wasn't even thinking it was going to do, having seen the other one, where it freeze frames and the voiceover of the main character of the movie comes in to say, whoa, we're getting off to a little too quick of a start right here. Let's take it back a little bit so I can catch you guys up. Yep, that's right. It has frequent narration, especially in the first part of the movie, that has the main character's narration coming in to say things like, yep, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got in this situation.
Right.
It practically says that right down to a T. And then it will rewind the footage to show you something that happens way later in the movie, and then do a 2,000 years earlier type thing. But it was hard to get too mad at that part of it, because the whole movie jumps back and forth between time. But just this Disney Channel original movie narration that it is added to it.
Well, it's a religious film. That's why they do it.
It was insane how it kept cutting in. And it was and I said to you, I go, yeah, this shit was not in here before at all. And it only comes in there because this is the most condescending narration that I've seen in a movie for a while. So you have the narrator coming in, again, who's the main guy in the movie, at the beginning to say things like, let me tell you a little bit about time travel. I'll ask you a few questions first. If you could go back in time to kill Hitler, would you? Anyway, it's my first day at school. That girl right there, she's the one who I'm interested in. And who's this lovable klutz over here? With arrow pointing to character. Oh, yeah, that's me. Aren't I handsome? It is so tonally ridiculous. Because there is a lot, the plot of this movie is absurd, but it doesn't really play it for spoof.
Right.
It plays it pretty serious a little, unless there's a comic relief character on screen. Yeah, then it's being jokey, but it's not playing it as parody or satire or anything like that. There is death that happens in this movie. There are quote-unquote dramatic scenes and death sequences that happen in the film. But then you have it sandwiched in between this Sonic the Hedgehog narration that they're giving it, and it's ridiculous.
It is.
You'll have the main character's parents kidnapped, shot in the back of the head, but it's sandwiched in between this character doing exposition dialogue to all the side characters going, oh, that guy right there, that's Simon. He might seem a little quirky. That's because he's the campus klutz. But we love him, even though he's a little feisty. Oh my God. All it is there to walk your hand through this whole movie. In case, like, it's one of those movies that thinks that its audience are the dumbest motherfuckers in the world that shove food in their ass and shit in their mouth, and they're sitting there watching this movie and need to be told how numbers work, and reminding you of scenes that happened 15 minutes prior. It does this even with title cards on screen, where you'll be in the past with Jesus, they will jump forward in time into the present, and the title card will come on the screen to say, like, back in the year 2029, as if I didn't know that that's not biblical times. It's ridiculous and hilarious. I was laughing my ass off about how they made this movie worse, but way funnier.
This movie was just so frustratingly bad for me. I was just every condescending voiceover track, I was just kind of like, okay, movie, thanks for telling us the obvious.
And I'm wondering, like, because it's this narration comes in as if he's telling this story to us.
Yeah.
But what about when it gets really serious? Is he sitting there like, you know, still thinking in his head like, oh, whoa, that's my mom and dad. Yeah, sure, their brains are splattered all against the window, but they'll be back towards the end of the movie. I don't want you to get too scared. I love when this type of voice is talking about international terrorism.
Right.
because he'll use the same type of inflection and voice when talking about his love interest that is reduced down to a montage in this version. Oh, there we are, tried on clothes together. Yeah, she has the hots for me. But then when they hack into the program that shows that the guy who's funding all of this is like part of ISIS and is talking to this terrorist, the narration comes in to tell us that this is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Like, the narration comes on there to say, like, you might have seen him on the news. That's a guy named Ahmed, the biggest terrorist in the world. You have to see this cut of the movie. Oh my God.
Oh, and he even wanted to remind us to not be Islamophobic, you know?
Oh, okay. So, all right, that was my favorite line in this movie. Because I'm watching it going, now the other cut of the movie, Assassin 3380, was also, to me, hilarious. And I would recommend it as a bad movie. Like, because there's so much insane shit that happens in it. The action is usually always going. It doesn't slow down a lot. Neither version do, really. Too long, yes. But they do keep this ridiculous pace going and throwing in all of these coincidences and paradoxes and just it's unapologetically going for it in terms of its time travel plot. Like we were talking when watching this where it was like, this is like a plot you would see in a South Park episode, but it is done totally serious. Yeah. And part of me is like, respect. But what makes me say, like, this re-edit of the movie, despite giving it this generic-ass title, Black Easter, I would say that this one is even funnier because of that stupid narration they give it, the editing, the condescending-ass title cards that are in it, the way that it is treating its audience like they are 2 years old and just figured out how toilets work.
Right.
And part of that is that one line that it gives that is the funniest fucking thing in this whole movie, where it's like they sat there, the writers, producers, or whoever, who were like, all right, well, we don't want to think that, like, we think all Muslims are terrorists and we're Islamophobic and all of this stuff. We need to kind of, like, write in something so people watching it won't be like, putting that in their reviews about this movie.
Yeah.
So they have this line where the bad guy in the movie is revealing his plan, and then in the narration, out of nowhere, as if the producer is behind your head and speaking into his ear, actually says, now, don't go hating on Muslims. Ahmed here is an extremist. And audience, there is a big difference. Oh, I laughed my ass off at this.
Once again, it's like, thank you, movie. I did not know that.
Lampshade 33 AD. I love that the font that they use every time a date comes on screen is like the same basic religious dissolve font that you can pretty easily find, and it's the one that we used for the Jesus Bro opening credits.
That's great.
And yeah, so there's a lot of jumping back and forth in time in this. Again, don't worry, they got your back, because if a character dies, but then the other version of him is still there, the earlier version, the narration will come in and be like, I know you might be confused right now, but this version of Simon, he's not the one who died. He's the one who was here in the present 30 minutes earlier.
Right.
Yes, I get it. Yeah. Now, I will say, like, because I kind of remember there were parts in Assassin 33 AD where I did kind of have to catch up a little bit, like with the character of Brant, who loses his wife and daughter at the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. I do kind of remember when it showed him again, he's like bearded and doing the Martin Riggs wanting to commit suicide thing. I do remember, like, it took me a minute to remember who this character was, but I eventually got it.
Yeah.
I didn't need, like...
It's not like you were totally lost.
Yeah. I mean, if I needed to take a minute on a certain character, like, I would get there, and it wouldn't take that long.
Right.
I didn't need this guy coming in going like, oh, this guy right here with the beard, that's the guy who lost his family earlier in the movie. He's fallen on some hard times.
Complete with arrows.
Yeah. Remember Simon from earlier in the movie? The one who's a little testy. Well, he's even more mad now because he's stuck back in the past. And he's been in Jesus times for a whole day. Dude! It's there's aspects of it that feel more parody than if it were an actual parody.
Yeah.
Because I've seen parodies of stuff like this. This is like you're watching a serious version of, I think I said this in the Snob review too, the greatest action story ever told sketch from Mad TV, where the Terminator goes back to protect Jesus. That's kind of this. In fact, me, Dave, and a group of us, when we were like drunk and high and in our early 20s, we had the VHS camera and we wanted to shoot this stupid movie. So we took a night and ad-libbed through this like half-hour thing where it was right after the Last Supper, but Jesus accidentally died by taking a fall down a hill and breaking his neck. So the disciples are all like worried, like, oh my god, we gotta find a replacement. So they like bribe this homeless man into taking Jesus's place.
That's amazing.
If only we had the budget of this movie.
Where's that movie?
I have. Your guess is as good as mine.
What'd you call it? Weekend at Jesus's?
No, it was called like Stairwell 3. Jesus Christ. Exclamation point.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so the title card will come on screen, but is so specific that it even slightly makes it more confusing because there's so many words on screen,
right,
and the action is going so fast. So they'll jump back into the present time, and I got it. It's in the present. I understand this. And then they put all this text on there that goes like, now we're back in 2029, but 30 minutes earlier from where you previously saw it.
Yeah.
It is not helping my ADHD at all. Like, you're making this more confusing.
Like I said, I'm just like, thank you, movie. We know.
And I like that, like, some characters learn a lesson in this movie. Brant, the guard, certainly does, who lost his wife and daughter at the beginning, now hates Jesus, goes back in time, shoots Jesus, but then, like, learns forgiveness and everything when he's crucified on the cross right next to Jesus, because it ties in a lot of things. Watch the Snob episode. It'll catch you all. It'll catch you up. But the main guy in the movie, Ram Goldstein, which, wow. I forgot that the main character's name was Ram Goldstein. So, when Ram Goldstein, he doesn't really like, okay, he starts out the movie as like a condescending atheist type that you would see in a movie like this. By the end of it, he's not an atheist anymore, but
he's still condescending.
He's even worse by the end of the movie. Because the way that the other one ends is he goes back in time to stop the car accident from happening that saves Brand's family. This one adds in narration where he goes, you know Brand, who was shot 5 minutes ago? Well, he's a paraplegic right now, but I don't really care about Brand all that much. I just have to do this anyway. Like, oh, taken from the words of Christ. Like, boy. Jesus. Like, this guy literally met Jesus, and somehow that made him a worse person and way more narcissistic. And because it's a montage about him selling off a second time machine he's built, in which is showing this giant yacht.
Yeah.
And he's in narration going, look at that big boat. Oh yeah, I live on that now. Like, this guy met Jesus only to become the Wolf of Wall Street. And this one ends on a cliffhanger, which I don't know if the other... Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the other one just ended with Brand's family getting saved from the car accident.
Wait, what was the cliffhanger?
Oh, how they go 30 years in the future? They go 30 years in the future.
Oh,
and
right, okay, and
The narration comes in. He's 30 years in the future. The girl that Ram Goldstein is with sounds like the fake name they'd give to Red Brown in Space Mutiny on Mystery Science Theater 3000. And in this, Ram Goldstein and his wounded girlfriend go 30 years in the future.
That's right.
In which the narration comes in to say, like, oh, when the terrorist was with the body of Christ, unfortunately, he took his DNA into the future, and then they cloned Jesus. Only this Jesus isn't like the Jesus you know. This one can start zombies, levitate, and cause wars. In fact, they don't call him Jesus. They call him the Antichrist. End credits. I don't remember that from the other one, and I feel like I would remember that, but I could be wrong.
Right.
That could be part of the original that I just forgot about for some reason. But this one, they do a re-edit to throw in a sequel bait thing, which makes me hope they are doing a sequel. I hope to God there's a sequel to this movie.
I didn't see it as sequel baiting, but I mean, all right, yeah.
That they're stuck in the future with the Antichrist?
Yeah.
I saw it as like sequel baiting.
Okay.
Like the next one's gonna pick up with them fighting the Antichrist in the future.
All right, yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need scripture. So you didn't like sitting through this movie?
Not particularly, no.
I
was
did.
on my phone through most of it.
I mean, I was too, but just because I'd seen it before. But when it was doing something like wacky with the narration and shit, my ears were perking up, and having to relive the stuff that Simon was doing in the movie when he meets Jesus and is saying shit like, "Oh, Jesus, you know you'd rather get shot, Jesus. I've seen your movie. Yeah, that crucifixion's gruesome, Jesus." It's going to be really painful.
Simon is the most stereotypical character. I memean, honestly, they're all kind of stereotypical.
In a movie like this, usually a lot of characters are stereotypical, and you have Simon in there saying things like, Jesus, I watched your movie on a bootleg. I'm sorry, Jesus. I know that's dishonest. And Jesus says, I'll be back. And he goes,
but that ain't your movie, Jesus.
I'll be back. Jeez, that ain't even your movie.
Jesus Christ.
And also, I'll bet it was fun being on set for this film.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been part of this.
Yeah. I'd hope in between takes there are guys just standing around drinking beer, just like hanging out. I hope.
And, well, they describe heaven in the movie as a frat house.
Oh,
I forgot about that from the other one. That happens in the other
with
one
sexy
too.
Angels.
You're gonna go to the frat house in the sky. It's gonna be cold beer and angels.
Sexy angels.
Hidden cameras in the girls' dormitory. Oh, this movie. So you giving this an F?
Aren't you?
No, I'm not giving it
Really?
an F. No, because I know I should, but I don't put this on par with some other religious movies that I would give an F to, because this movie, I will say this about the movie, it does keep its pace going. It does. Like, there's always some crazy shit happening every minute of this movie, no matter what time period they're in, whether it's the crazy dialogue they have, the bad special effects, which they did not fix from the other version, and trying to tie in characters from the Bible into the characters in this film. It's just so genuine about a lot of this that I can't give it an F for that. And also that it is funny. Now, granted, there's bad, funny religious movies I've given an F to.
Yeah.
But I gotta factor filmmaking into some of that too. A movie like Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas is a way worse made movie than this. Not that this movie's that well made, but I've seen worse in that regard, especially in this genre. So, because it's funny, man. I thought this movie is just hilariously bad. I think it's perfect for a bad movie party. And I don't know. There's just something in me where I'm like, I don't want to give it an F. But I'll give it a D-.
Okay, fair.
You're going the F, aren't you? And I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
I gotta
It's
give
bad.
the F.
It is really
God,
bad.
the condescending voiceover is what did it for me. I just, God, you don't need that. You really didn't need that much.
It did make it funnier.
Oh.
It didn't make it for a bad movie viewing. It's not like it's doing like there was a re-edit of House of the Dead that tried making it the comedy version that was trying to re-edit it to make it look self-aware.
Yeah.
I didn't take this as suddenly trying to make it self-aware and that they're aware they're making a bad movie.
Sure.
They just put corny narration in to try to handhold its audience for the movie. So that in and of itself still made it perfect to watch on a bad movie night.
I mean, I guess.
Unintentionally funny. Oh my God. The movie had to come in with narration to tell the audience, we don't hate Muslims.
You find stuff like that endearing. I find
do.
stuff like that just absolutely infuriating. Like, God, will you stop it?
If you were to watch the other one, though, you might miss it. You might miss the narration. Maybe you'd be really confused. You'd watch it and be like,
I have no idea what's going on.
What time period are we in? There's a computer there, so I don't think it's Jesus' time.
Wait, they have guns. Wait. Which are these Jesus's disciples? I don't remember Jesus's disciples carrying clocks.
They look like a church congregation putting on a small play in the back of the church where if you pan it over slightly, there'd be a picnic table. I mean, like, the main bad guy in the movie is a Mexican actor that they have playing an Islamic terrorist.
Right. Jesus Christ.
It's going old school. Like, you'd see a Western, like, there'd be like a Native American, but he's like Sicilian. John Wayne like, is that there an Indian chief? It pans over and just, hey, how you doing? God, that is the re-edit of Assassin 33 AD. That was something. I'm glad I got to sit through that.
It's too bad it wasn't a blaxploitation movie, because then it would have been
Black Easter.
Yeah, because then it would have been fun.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
I still thought it was hilarious. All right, let's get out of here before we just melt from sweat anymore. Take care.